Vince,
No, what's going on?
thank you for coming, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Thanks for having me.
you're a music supervisor. You a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. We've known each other for a long time. We worked at DreamWorks Animation. You've been all over the place. You've been on Netflix now for like what, 6 years, 7?
Almost 7 years. Yeah.
7 years Netflix.
Yeah.
And we've known each other for like what, 15 years maybe?
I don't know when you started.
I started interning at DreamWorks. Holy shit, 2008?
17 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
How crazy is that?
17 years, a lot of iterations, right? Like different, we're moving different companies, different cities,
Yeah.
different countries, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you were just such a sweet, kind person. And
Fuck off.
One thing, one thing lately that I really liked what you did was like on LinkedIn, because of the industry is going through some hard time. You were like offering help.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to do that. Nobody even thinks of that a lot of the times. And like, that just kind of shows how good of a person you are.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I've been the person who's been let go from companies, and I know what it's like when you're looking and looking and looking, and you don't think people are looking out for you or have you in mind, you know? So there's, I think, to a point where there's so many people who are looking for jobs. It's more of an umbrella thing. Like if you look, there are certain posts about production and line producers, animators. Like there's so many different areas. It was just me throwing everything out,
Right.
just to see, you know, who might need help. Because I've been there. I've been let go from companies and thinking I'm never going to work at the same job or company ever again.
Right.
And I ended up going back a couple times to the same company, but you know, you just never know. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You only do it backwards, right?
Yeah.
So it's just my way of helping, you know, people who, like, a way for me to say I've been there. So.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very thoughtful. And one of those situations when people get let go, especially it's like, you know, budget cuts and everything, it almost makes you feel like, man, what's the exit? Like, you see people get really kind of sad. It's really tough situation.
Yeah. There's no right way to do it. Right? An exit. I mean, I've been exited where I knew 6 months in advance that June 1st would be my last day. Oh, yeah. But I also had an experience where I got called into a conference room, and I walk in, and HR was sitting there, and with my folder and my name printed on there, and they said, "Well, so hey, today's your last day."
And they had probably all the folders in there too.
Oh yeah,
they were just like letting people go.
They were letting people go. You know, here's your last paycheck, but once you hear today's your last day, after that, everything is just like
you don't
garbled.
hear anything else
because you're so shocked. So there's no right way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think everyone now is kind of experiencing that. Like you look on LinkedIn and people are, you know, I've been looking for 2 months, or I've been looking for a year and a half, and it's all over the place. It's not just one industry. So
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. And I mean, now I have my own business, and that's super scary because when I talk to people, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but when I talk to people, it's like they open like big eyes. They're like, what? You left the company. Like Live Nation job is pretty secure. It's hard to like let go because they have the workflow pretty well set, you know, like a lot of people have been there for like 10 years plus. So for people to leave there, they either leave because want it, or it's hard to get let go from Live Nation. So I left to open my own business.
Yeah.
So now when I talk to people, they like look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think maybe because of what's going on in the workforce right now.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, why would you leave the comfort of that right now?
Right.
And go do your own thing. But they project themselves, right? Like I would never do that, you know. And
yeah.
It's like, but you're not.
I heard
me.
a lot of that. Yeah.
You're not. You don't know what I need, what I want, what I have, all those things. And until you've sat in my shoes and sat with me and my family to discuss what we're doing next, then your opinion really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
You know, but it is. It's a scary thing. So I commend you for doing that. I wouldn't have done it. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I mean, that's actually acceptable when people say, I would have not done it. I'm like, I understand. And it's okay too, you know?
Yeah.
Because now what I've learned is exactly what you're saying. Like everybody has an approach to life different.
Yeah.
It's a different approach. It's different needs, different want. What I've always kind of had in me was this want of doing something on my own. But I've been trained and told and everything, like just work hard for somebody and you'll be rewarded. And then just get a good job at a good big company, graduate school, graduate college, like,
right.
Yeah,
in
go
this
through
order,
the list,
right?
in this order, and don't try anything else out of that. Like that's how I was trained all my life.
Yeah.
Like around people, not just my family, but people around me who grew up with. And then you get to US, you're like, oh, you're an immigrant. Now really work hard, like really do stuff. Yeah. So they accept you better. There's all these subtle kind of ways of you thinking. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, I kind of want to do my own thing. And then it goes against everything that you were taught. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I just got to look at that and just kind of go for it.
Yeah.
Because I could go and list all the things that I shouldn't do. Because I shouldn't do it. I have a family, I have 2 kids. It's like everything could just go south in a month or 2. Like, and then all of a sudden there's all these, like all the things that you got to go open an LLC or S Corp. You got to find your taxes. You got to pay for your insurance. You got to find insurance for your like all these things. You're like, no, it's better for me to just sit in my office and get my paycheck. But then you just have, put all that to the side and go one by one. Okay, make the choice. Yeah. Do it, and then solve one problem at a time. Yeah. And then go for it, and don't think of it as like a big deal or a dream stopper, and you just keep going. You know.
Well, I think a lot of people, they sit like in the middle of comfort, right? Like anything, like you have to get your own insurance and taxes. I wouldn't do, that's a lot, right? Yeah. But like you said, one at a time, put you out of the center, more towards the edge of the comfort zone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so once you get to the edge, you're like, okay, now what do I do? Well, now I have to do that. And it stretches that comfort zone. Yeah. Right? And so that's what you're doing. And so when people do say, man, I wouldn't do that, if they follow it up, I think with like, but you've inspired me to do that. I think that's a different story, right? Yeah. Now it's like, I am doing something right. If I'm able to inspire by just my actions, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And if I'm scared, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yes. Yeah. There was actually a guy that came talk to me. He's like, Felipe, do you have time to chat? And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, like, how did your wife deal with this? And like, how did you, oh my God, like, that's crazy. And then I was like, thinking like, oh, okay, like, where is this conversation going? And then he said exactly that. He's like, dude, that's so inspiring. Yeah. Like, wow, man, like, congrats. Yeah. That's so, he was genuinely inspired. Yeah. He was just like, man, I salute you for that. Like, that's amazing. Like, and you could tell in his eyes, like, and then that made me feel better. I was like, oh, okay, like, at least that's a huge win. I inspired one person. Yeah, no, I think inspired other people. They just haven't had a chance to talk to you yet. Yeah, right? I mean, so, and then you, like we were saying before, like when everybody says, like, how do you feel? Yeah. So it's been 2 weeks that I officially am out of like full-time job, and I have my agency, and I'm working with Live Nation. I'm handling their YouTube channel, and it's been 2 weeks, and everybody's like, how do you feel? Like, oh man, how do you feel? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm scared still. Yeah. And I'm just doing the best I possibly can every single day. Yeah. I'm looking at everything YouTube every day. I'm researching more. I'm uploading. I'm seeing how it goes. I know exactly minutes of the videos, when they do well, when they don't do well, why. I'm doing YouTube thumbnails. I'm designing them. I hire somebody to design. I hire a guy to edit videos. Clip this part, clip that part, post everything. Let's see how it goes. I'm having like competitors, how they do it. So I'm going deep inside to be like, Felipe is the absolute best person at this, or the absolute best I can be now. Yeah. And then tomorrow I'll be a little bit better. And then tomorrow I'll be a little bit better, and then like okay, so now what can I do to better my relationship with them?
Yeah.
So now I do a weekly newsletter that came out today
Okay.
for the internal team.
Make sure you sign up for it.
Sign up for it. Like news of the week on YouTube.
Yeah.
What is performing well? What I'm watching.
Yeah.
In the lab, what are we working on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
what are we testing? So just like you said, it's really a good analogy that you put. Like you go to the edge of your comfort zone, now it stretches a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you go to the other edge, it stretches a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now if something when you look back, like, man, I went up, I'm high, I'm way high, you know.
I think that's exactly it though. Like when you look back,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the growth, right? It's really easy for you to have stayed at one company and just sat there,
Yeah.
but you're not going to grow. And this is where the growth is. And it's where the scary things happen. But again, you're going to look back and be like, I'm glad I did it when I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is when people are asking, like, you know, what'd your wife think, or, you know, how's your family? Like, how'd you handle the taxes? There's two types of people. One is somebody like, I would never do that. You know, like I wouldn't put my wife through that. There are other people, like you said, who are asking because maybe they want to have that conversation with their wife.
Yeah.
Or
it's absolutely that.
or they're scared and, how did he handle the taxes? They're doing it from a curiosity standpoint. And I think that just in life is something that people need to move forward with curiosity.
Yes.
And not judgment. Like, you know, things you don't know about, right? Whether it's something political or sports or social media. If you don't know about it, be curious and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Who's doing it better right now? What are they doing? What's the length? All that stuff, I think, feeds into our growth as well.
Yes.
So.
And that's exactly it. That's how I think. It's like, let's find somebody that do better. That doesn't mean they're going to like eliminate me.
Right.
There's space for everybody.
Yeah, there's room for everybody.
There's room for everybody. Like, let me learn from that person. Oh, okay, hey, how do you do that? Do you mind if I pick your brain? No, it's okay if you're not. But like, I would love to pick your brain because this is how I'm doing. This is how I would like to do. This is how I maybe copy you here and there. Is that cool? You know, like, copy me too if you need. But like, that's why this podcast for me is so important.
Yeah.
It's because I want to pick people's brain. Like you and I we just have lunch just to pick each other's brain but I want to have an excuse to pick people's brain and learn from them. You know, every time we talk, I learn a lot more or get inspired more.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like I'm doing here. It's like Curious Felipe, like just figuring out how to learn from people. And I just love talking to people. But like, I think that's it. Like there's room for everyone to grow. And if we just learn from each other, support each other. Yeah. And I think you'd be best for everyone. Yeah. Obviously, there are people who are malicious. You know? Like they're like because if there are good people, that means there are bad people, right? Yeah. But I think the good outweigh the bad all the time in quantity, in everything, in terms of people. But if you're genuinely curious, just because you want to learn, then there's no losing. Yeah, there's no losing.
But I think isn't that what art is? Like you come from an art background, right? Art inspires art, right? You know, and so you look to things for inspiration. How is that any different than watching other people? And like you said, I like how they do this. I'm going to take that. And I hope you take what I do, right? Yeah. You're inspiring other people all just to make this bigger and better. Right. And like you said, there's room for everybody. I think we have this notion that, you know, there's a table, right? And there's only 20 chairs at the table, you know. Right. There's no room for other people. You're trying to fit in more chairs. Like rather than try and fit in more chairs, why don't you build a bigger table?
Right. Exactly. So
we can all be here because now there's other needs, right? 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago, however long, TikTok wasn't a thing. Right. And 20 years ago, you were looking at MySpace, and that's gone. You know, so everything changes, and we have to constantly be changing with that. But there are certain skill sets that come into they're the through line that apply to all of them. So
I was just talking to a friend of mine too. Ryan was the other episode, and we were talking about how, like, for me with kids, I learned one of the biggest thing I've learned is that like life is just phases. Okay. Yeah. Because I broke it down with sometimes we're in the phase of the newborn, especially for women. They think, man, this is no. They don't think they realize quick that it's really hard for them. So their mind, and then I went through it too because I've always been so involved. but you get to a point where you're like, man, this is forever. This is gonna suck forever. like when am I gonna sleep more than 4 hours?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like, but you've only done it for like 2 months,
Yeah.
you know, 3 months.
Oh, it's forever.
But you think, when is this gonna stop? And then you go through and you're like, oh, it got better. And it gets better.
Yeah.
And then it gets better. And then you're like, oh, it's just phases.
Yeah.
It's just phases. Like the kids go through phases.
Yeah.
You know, and our life is like that too. You know, we go through a phase.
Her life. Oh.
Our lives.
Oh,
Our lives just go through phases too. Like, oh, this is a phase now that I needed to do full-time employment to learn all these things, to like grow my want to not do this or learn from this where I could apply to my own thing. And then my other phase is like, now I'm doing a little bit of my own thing, but really getting to a leadership role and it's helping me and all that. Like, and now my phase is like entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah.
And then in this entrepreneur phases, I could be like, now I'm learning from people.
Yeah.
Now I'm like teaching people while I'm learning from them. Now I'm just learning, you know? So it's just like all these things that if I treat it like phases, would be a lot easier for me to approach it and face it than just think like, now I'm an entrepreneur for the rest of my life. I don't know if later on I'm just, maybe it'll be something else.
Right.
You know?
How did you approach it then? Because yes, you go through all these phases, right? But you also had the added part of the family life, right? So when I met you, you didn't have the wife and kids, right?
Yeah.
So how did that transition go from you being an independent person and now you have the family?
Right.
Like, how did your mentality change with that, with your job? Like, because there's two different things going on.
They are. I think, so you know this. I was a completely different person. Like, not in the terms of like who I am.
Your root.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like my attitude was different.
Yeah.
My attitude was completely different. Now I'm more of a like, how can I be better?
Okay.
How can I be a better person?
Okay.
You know, every day. Like, am I treating everybody right? Am I listening to people? Am I talking to them the proper way? Am I treating them respectfully in who they are? You know, am I trusting them to be who they are and respecting that? Am I being the best person I am so my kids could see that, so my wife could see that?
Yeah.
Can I be 100% so my wife cannot be 100%? It's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, and with all these categories, like, can I be better as a father? Can I be better as a husband? Can I be better as a friend?
Yeah.
Can I be better as a worker?
Yeah.
You know, and then can I be better as an entrepreneur? And then all these categories are like fitting into me trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of did this parallel thing where like I want to be a better person for my family and I want to be a better person for financial reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And then recently I'm like, wait, not just financial reasons, for like a better life, you know? Because you could be really rich and miserable. That's probably the easiest way to get miserable, just when you prioritize money over everything. Like, how do I prioritize a happy life, you know? Where I do for work is something I enjoy. Where I do for work is something that like I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stress the fuck out of me, so I'm not like a worse person in the family.
Yeah.
And or as a husband and or as a father, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how can I get all these like categories to be unified?
Yeah.
Not like, oh, you're great at business but not great at family.
Right.
Oh, you're great at business but not what you like doing.
Yeah.
You know, or so I just trying to like kind of unify all that. So I'm not focusing completely on just one and forgetting the others.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just want to clarify though, like when I first met you, you were still a good person. Like, I don't want it to come off like you're not. You're still, I think what happened was the focus all of a sudden had to go from, you know, I like to have fun. I like to, you know, be with my friends. But now when you add, you know, the wife into the mix, I want to have fun with her as a unit going and having fun. And then you add kids and it's like, now we're a bigger unit.
Yeah.
To the root, you are still who you are. You've always been who you've been since I've met you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I think draw people to you. I don't know if it's a Brazilian in you or not, but I swear, like they just love so passionately. And I think that is a draw to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And that has never changed. I think it's where you are giving that currency might have changed. You're not giving as much to, the college friends because now you have other obligations. And so the real college friends who realize that aren't going to be like, look at him, he never hangs out with us anymore.
Right.
They're like, oh, can we be invited to the first birthday?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that is what you've been able to do. And it's taken some time, right, to figure that out. But now you have this company that you're adding to that. So it's like, so how are you going to figure out how to balance all that stuff? Which I know you will. But,
that's been the toughest thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time management.
Yeah.
But yes, my circle has shrank.
Yeah.
Right. Like my immediate circle, where my attention goes. Right. It's like smaller, family and business. Really, that's it. And when I have time for something else,
absolutely,
I could fit in. But it's really hard, because it's like, it's just every day, everything is kind of set already, and it's either business or family, or business and family, and sometimes the orders change.
Yeah, family and business.
Yeah, then family and business,
it switches.
And then business changes.
Yeah,
and I think it's gonna be like that for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, where before I was like fun.
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And then job.
Yeah.
And then myself. I didn't have a family, so it was just like myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then everything else, and then so it was kind of the approach was different. You know? So now is a lot more focused and a lot more purpose. There's a purpose behind it. Like I have a goal, and I already have my family established, and now my business. So now it's like, let's go towards the goal.
Yeah.
Now we have the basis.
That's awesome.
Now we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm happy. I'm more scared than, because it's just beginning, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm scared for a long time. Maybe I'll be scared for a long time. But
now you're saying out loud that you're scared, whereas before you could have just kind of held it inside that you're scared.
Yeah.
It just depends. I mean, I think a lot of people aren't able to get to a point in their life where they are scared.
Yes.
They much rather stay away from that because it's scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to be what's safe and what's comfortable, and you've been able to do it and kind of be the example, not only for the people but eventually your kids, right?
Yeah.
They can look forward and say, God, remember when Dad had that amazing job at Live Nation? And
Yeah.
then he, for some reason, did his own thing. But now look at us. We're able to take over the family business or whatever it may be.
Right,
You just never know.
You never know.
But
And I think, too, we were saying something about this earlier before we started, but one of the biggest thing I found out is like, my wife and I would sit down and be like, okay, what do we like? What do we like doing? There's a bunch of shit, but like, what can you, if money wasn't the issue, but you had to work, because, and I say this a lot, but like, it's not realistic you're not doing anything every day. Like if you had $100 million right now drop in your bank account, you'll probably get like 3-4 months off traveling. And after that, it's going to be like,
be bored, I think.
Be bored,
right?
Or like drunk all the time, and you just start burning money.
Yeah.
It's going to go somehow not great.
It'll get old.
You get old.
Yeah.
So it's not like, let's get money to not do anything. It's like, okay, let's find something that we can do for the rest of our lives. They're like, if money wasn't the reason why we have that job, what job would you have? Like, you be a painter, will you be something, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the hardest thing, at least was for me, is to find what you like that you could do that for the rest of your life. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Like I could work with some MMA stuff. If I had like a gym with MMA and a cafe in it, I would love it. I'll probably be very happy for the rest of my life. Like it's just
putting everything together, right?
Yeah, like a huge gym with a cafe and you train jiu-jitsu in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would be like
a little restaurant on the side.
ideal.
Yeah.
Like, but so I think people that know what they like is already like way far ahead. Because they could find probably a job that's related to that, and you'd be completely happy for the rest of their life because it's related to something they like. And then maybe do something outside of the job that's kind of related to it, and that's like a perfect life. Because if you know what you like, then to me it's you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because most people like myself just like to have like immediate fun for immediate return, right? Party on Friday, party on Saturday, rest on Sundays, party a little bit on Sunday again, and then Monday, Tuesday is recovery, and then Thursday starts over.
Yeah.
That was kind of the immediate kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to me, that just kind of showed that I didn't really know what I liked. I was just kind of going with a lot of the flow.
Yeah.
But people that know that like is way ahead of the game.
Yeah, you're right. So I do a lot of like mentorship over at UCLA.
Yes.
And I do entertainment mentorship, right? I have a lot of people who come up to me and they say, hey, I want to work in entertainment. I'm like, great, what's your major? And they're like, well, I'm pre-med or biochemical engineering or something that's not related to entertainment. I said, well, have you done internships? Like, no, but I really want to work in entertainment. I said, well, then why are you biology and pre-med? Well, my parents really want me to do that.
Yeah, that's the majority of the thing.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. And I get it, right? Sometimes, and, there's a lot of immigrant parents,
right,
sending their kids to college. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, especially if you're spending all that money to go to school.
Right.
And I'm the big bad wolf who comes in and says, like, you have to figure out what your passion is.
Right.
And figure out how to do that. I'm not saying full time, but have some sort of like inkling or some taste of that in your life.
Right.
So what I've seen from you is you've been able to do that. You've had this little taste of it, and now it's switched to where now it is your job to do what you love.
Yeah.
So I think that is such a great example to people of like, it doesn't come immediately sometimes.
It does
right?
not. You got to try a bunch of stuff. Maybe I like this, and you go and you try, and you're like, it's not really it. But it's getting closer.
Yeah.
And then you try something else. Because a lot of us, including myself, never really knew. I mean, my passion growing up was soccer. I played soccer. I played soccer in college. I did all this stuff. But it's like, if you're not an athlete, what are you going to do? I don't want to commentate soccer.
Yeah.
I don't want to all these other things.
Yeah.
Like, I just like playing. That was it. But then so I just like try if you, because a lot of the times people are like, hey, do what your passion is. But what if I don't have one? What if I don't know what it is?
You don't know what it is, I think.
Yeah. You don't know what it is yet. Because if you don't know what it is, because it's yet. Because you're going to try something. Oh, maybe I like this. Like, I like to network. I like to talk to people. And then being my own business, I'm setting it up, creating content because I like creating content a lot too. But at some point, I want to have it where it's all set up, and not just network, but my main focus is networking, talking to people, make sure everybody's okay. Vince, you're my client. You good? Can I get you dinner again to see how things are going? How can I get better?
Right.
How can the team, is this person performing? Is this person not performing?
Yeah.
Like talking, like this is what I like doing.
Yeah.
So if I do that for my clients, I think they get more value out of me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So my passion is not necessarily just content creation, it's people.
Right.
And
you're not going to know that when you're 22 years old.
you're not going to know that. You're not going to know that.
Everyone just says, well, Felipe, he likes soccer, but he talks a lot.
Yeah.
And then it had to take a couple years for you to figure out, networking and talking is what I
what I like. I thought it had to be a consequence of that. No.
Yeah.
This is what I like.
Yeah. I think it's a huge, huge thing for people to see.
Yeah.
Because they think, and I think we're so from 18 to 22 trying to figure out what we want to do for the rest of our lives. And people are like, I have to be this, that, or the other. And it's like, it's okay to pivot and move.
Pivot.
Everyone thinks their career is a straight diagonal line, but it's not.
Yeah.
It zigzags, right?
Yeah.
And it goes all over the place sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
And if you are at a place where you're not happy, like, make sure that you're not happy. So then you can actually stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times people are not happy and they don't stop to think about, am I happy? Am I actually happy? Sometimes you just go with the flow. I've gone through that. I was just going with the flow. And now it's like, am I actually happy? Like extremely happy, kind of happy, comfortable, Content.
Right.
And then you're like, I'm not extremely happy. Okay. We're getting there. I am happy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. It could be better. Maybe you're content.
Yeah.
So is it time for you to stop doing that? Maybe not. Go deeper into that to find out.
Yeah. I 1,000% agree. I think people are afraid to do that though.
It's so hard.
Because if somebody said, "How are you doing?" Fine is usually the response.
Right. Right.
Or fine or fine.
Yeah.
It's the same word, but it's said 2 different ways.
Right.
So what you said, like, figure out why you're just fine.
Right.
Like, life is too short.
Yes.
And you never know when we're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to live as much as you possibly can and hopefully set the example for everyone watching you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Whether it's your friends, your family, your kids, or whatever, you have to set that example because you just never know.
Right.
Right? So I think life's too short to live just fine.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live to be happy. And you're not going to always maintain there.
No, that's not reality.
Because, it's not reality. But because even if you're happy with your career and job and the people around you, sometimes other life things happen, right?
Yeah.
You lose a family dog or you lose a parent or something.
Yeah.
Out of your control, but that changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it happens to everybody.
Yes.
So we all have to like give each other a little bit of grace to be able to climb back out of the hole.
Yes.
And it can happen.
You can.
So
You can. It's a little bit tough.
yeah.
And you just have to put that in your head.
Yeah.
I'm going through that now. It's a bit tough opening a business because now I'm taking a huge pay cut. I'm opening a business. I'm paying all these things. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to deliver good service, but like I don't know all of this.
Yeah.
Like, what about taxes? All these things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just have to keep thinking. Let's just keep getting better. Let's just think.
Yeah.
One problem at a time.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like,
Yeah.
give yourself grace, right?
Yes.
I will make a mistake, but I'm going to be able to course correct that mistake quickly.
Correct.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about being able to fix whatever the mistake is. And that's like at work, that's how we operate. Let's make the mistake fast. So that way we know it's done and we can fix it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just waiting to see.
Yes.
So
Like don't sit and wait. Just try it. Didn't work? Try the other way.
Yeah.
At least you have data now.
Yeah, that's
this
true.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now you try
Yeah.
another way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I'm trying to approach the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like how can I just get better? How can I deliver something better than expected? You know.
So let me ask you this then. So it's been 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
What has been something that has surprised you as far as maybe been a little easier than you thought it would be in these 2 weeks?
It's a good question. What I was more afraid is that I didn't know how my day-to-day was going to be. Like I was like, I don't come in, like my day-to-day was pretty set at work.
Yeah.
I come in, I have a daily meeting at 9:30, and then on Mondays I have at 12 o'clock and at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Like on Thursdays is basically all my day one-on-one with my team, see how they're doing. So like I had every day kind of planned out for me, that I had set.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing my own business. It's me really only, and then 2 more people.
Okay.
And I really don't need like to be having meetings with them, but I need to figure out that I need to make sure that they know what they're doing without wasting time, right? So I had no idea how my day-to-day was going to be.
Yeah.
I was like, my biggest challenge to me was going to be like, I need to figure out how to have like a workflow every day.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? Sit in front of a computer? Now what?
Yeah. Watch YouTube.
Watch YouTube. And like the biggest challenge for Live Nation was quantity of content on the channel.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a strategy of like creating content consistently without depending too much on them because they don't have time for this. I have to drive it, you know?
Yeah.
So on second day, I already have a really good workflow.
Okay.
Like I know where to pull videos from, edit. I was sending it to editor. I had a list of things going. Like I figured it out pretty quickly, and that was really surprising.
Okay.
So now, like, I can't wait to get to in front of the computer to see how everything's going.
Okay.
Like every day, I'm like, I need to open my computer to see how everything's going.
Yeah.
And like and then set it up for tomorrow, set it up for this. Like that part to me was a bit easier than I expected.
Okay. Nice.
Where before I was like, man, it's probably going to be like pulling teeth. It's like, I have to get content. I have to find this. It has to be approved. And so I found ways to get that workflow reestablished. So far, is good.
Okay.
Like,
good.
I'm really happy of the output I'm putting.
Good.
and that was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't deliver good stuff?
Yeah.
You know, and when you're doing that well, you get time to think of like, what more can I give them without charging more? You know?
Oh yeah.
So like,
what's the added value? That
here's more. You know? So that's why it's like the newsletter. You know, like the weekly reporting meeting that I'm doing now. Like all these things are coming to me. I'm like, okay, what would they feel comfortable? What would they like to do? Like anticipate what they like instead of just kind of sitting and waiting. Like, hey, this video hasn't been approved.
Yeah.
So I kind of just wait. No, like here's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Proactive.
Here's another
instead
one.
of reactive.
Yeah. So it's been easier than I expected so far to be proactive and deliver a lot of good content.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's it's made me. I told my wife yesterday that I was like, it just feels so great to like know that I'm doing the best I can. You know, like I'm doing the best I can. I'm anticipating things. So I think as I was driving here, I was like, I just have to feel this energy that feels good.
Yeah.
And keep that energy going, right? It's like if the energy goes down, what can I do? Like get that energy going again to deliver content, deliver value, get the channel moving, and like do good stuff. Because before I was doing kind of like when I had my full time, I had some like gigs here and there, like freelance here and there, and I could tell it was kind of like half-assed, you know, because I didn't have time. You know, I had meetings from 9 to 9. You know, like so I didn't have time. I saw deliver half-assed, and that feeling that I had was terrible. Yeah. So I didn't want to have that feeling. Now, and it's not happening. So that has been the most. That's been the most surprising thing. Not surprising, but like comforting. Yeah, that's the thing that was bothering me before. Yeah. Where it's like, how is that going to be? You know? I don't want to be like, guys, you guys not answering my email. Like, no, here's it. It is. You know. Like,
So you've worked at a lot of different companies, right? So you've seen a lot of different styles. For people who work with you, right? Outside companies who work with you, what do you want them to walk away with from your company?
That I'm human first.
Oh.
First thing I am. I'm human. First. So I'm going to treat you like a human, like a client or employee or a boss. First, human. So how you doing? How you feeling? How was your weekend? And listen to the answer. See how people are. Hear how people are doing. And then, by the way, here's what I'm doing. Here are the things that are happening. Here's the thing that you have to do. If an editor, right now I have an editor and a strategist guy that is with me. He has a full time, but he's helping me be my second brain because he knows YouTube really well. So he's more like consultant kind of person. He's really cool just to kind of talk ideas, right? But the editor is somebody that I need to be like, he's my full time guy, you know? So I really need to be on top of him. But it hasn't got to this point yet. But if there's ever a mistake, I need to be completely fair and address the mistake as a human, you know, not like as a boss, you know, like, hey, we really can fuck that up. Right. This hasn't happened yet, obviously. Right. But like, this is kind of the approach that I want to be as a company. Hey, this is not how the standard that we want to put in. I think you could do better. Can you fix this? And also, man, what you did here was awesome. Yeah, it's that feedback. Yeah, this is like, this is great. Do more of this. This is awesome. Yeah. I was inspired. I liked it. Right. Like, so I think, because I gave a lot of thought on that. Like, okay, as a company, who am I? You know, as a business owner, who am I? You know, so like, and I think that question is like, just I'm human first. You know, like, then we figured out everything else that needs to be done. Yeah, you know. I think that is what I was trying to get at the beginning, is of the person who you are. You've always been that way. You've always been very heartfelt. I wasn't expecting that answer. That's why I was a little like taken aback by it. But I mean, you're right. I think we work in this industry where it's like, what's the data? It's like, data doesn't mean shit if it doesn't affect you. Like, this person had a loss in their family or lost their house and wherever, you know, like,
give them some grace. They're human, right? We'll get it done before your deadline, but it's not going to happen by 3:00.
Yes.
So, but I think I think what I've had the privilege of knowing about you for years is how much you just like, there is passion that oozes out of you for everything. And I mean, everything. Like, you want to try this restaurant, you're like, you have to try this restaurant. It's just like, you want to go dancing, let's go dancing. You want to hang out with the kids, let's go hang out, let's go do this, let's go do it down the slide. You've always been that person.
Thank you. That's
and
nice
so I think as you take that to the next step and next level in your life, in your own company, I think when people work with you and they see that, they're going to want to work with you more and more because you have that human element.
Well, and you too. I've learned a lot that from you. I think we've talked about that before, where like the corporate business gets a bit weird, right? Because everybody's like want to do better than the next person because I want to get promotion, not him or her. And your approach has always been like, well, how can we just talk to people?
Yeah.
How can we just be people? Yeah. Because everybody wants to do the best they can do. Yeah. And like I said before, there's always going to be some malicious people, but they're a minority. Yeah. They're a minority. They're not the main amount of people. Yeah. But like your approach has always been that, like, okay, professional, corporate, all that has to be, but we're talking to people. Yeah. And it goes to show that's why you're a mentor. You reached out to people like who lost their job or you didn't even know the people that you were talking to. Yeah. I've learned that a lot from you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Like from many years that we hung out together and talk.
Well, I think for me, it was, I've seen what happens when you have that name associated with you, right? I had DreamWorks for a while. I was there and all the people that want to meet with you and talk with you and like, hey, let's go do this. Yeah. And then when you don't work there, how the phone calls just stop.
They stopped.
So for me, that was a huge learning lesson of the people who still reached out. Mm-hmm. Because it didn't matter where I worked. It was just of who I was. It was the character I felt like they were, wanting to hang out with, not the name of the company. Right. And I've seen it multiple times at different iterations of companies, especially this last company. As soon as I started there, right, the amount of people that came out of the woodwork.
Vince, how you doing? Oh my God! Congratulations! This is awesome. I missed you.
I knew it would. You're right. I knew it would happen, but the amount and the people like I hadn't spoken with in 5-6 years.
That's wild.
Would come out of the woodwork and be like, "Hey, how are things going? I just saw you got this great new position. That's awesome. Hey, listen, right?" And then it's like, here comes the ask, right? Yeah. And I had a few people ask, I'm wondering how we can get in there, and I would respond back very honestly and say, hey, I haven't spoken to you in 6 years. Right. A lot has happened in that time. Yeah. Rather than talk about work, maybe we should catch up personally as opposed to that, And then some people are pretty ballsy and they would say, absolutely, would love to come by the studio and
the studio?
Yeah, like, whoa, no. How about we meet at a coffee shop somewhere else, right? Yeah. Don't need to meet here,
Yeah, I don't like, even in the workforce, I don't like treating people like a transaction.
Right, right.
Like
that's exactly what it is.
Even in the workspace, and sometimes that backfires with me. Yeah, because I was like, I think somebody's my friend, and then something changes where I change company or I went to my own business, and then they like treat me completely different. Yeah, and I'm like, oh shit, I thought we were friends. Yeah. And there's always the other way too, where you think there's this guy or this girl or this whatever that treat you just like a transaction professional thing, and you leave and they treat you better. Like, oh, now I can treat you like the person that you are. Yeah. So there's like, it's a weird concept that like we are kind of not forced, but it's kind of like people think that's the way to grow. You know, I saw a podcast in Brazil. And this guy asked this other guy and says, describe yourself without telling me what you do. And the guy couldn't do it, right?
Yeah, I know some people who do. Yeah.
How do you describe yourself without saying what you do? Yeah. People couldn't say, hey, I'm Felipe that believe in honest people, that believe in being nice to people, that I like to have fun with people that like have fun. I believe in genuine in person. I believe in family and having, a goal in life. Like a lot of people will be like, well, I'm such and such that work at this place. I work, I do this, I do that, and that. And then it's like, okay, like, but who are you? You know?
Yeah.
So I think the culture might be changing because I feel like people are more open to like talking about who they are and feelings and stuff. But
yeah, oh man, you bring up a good point about feelings and stuff like that. I think mental health has all of a sudden become very prevalent, like especially after the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first started in the industry,
nobody talked about it.
No. You're weak if you talk about that, right?
Yeah.
No, just suck it up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now it's more accepted to be able to say, I'm not having a good day.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to say. That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's okay to say that. Now, I think there are some people who weaponize that. And,
well, I think that's
and that's the problem.
I want to add because I know you, and I think that's where the whole remote thing went wrong because there's a lot of people that took crazy advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying there aren't people. There's still to this day some people who like, I'm just not feeling it. I need a personal week off or a personal day off. I was like, really?
You're just lazy right now.
You just stayed up too late, or you're doing it because you and your friends are going to go out to Coachella right now.
Exactly.
Like let's be real.
Yeah.
But as far as like being more emotionally verbal with things, right? How you're feeling, I think, has definitely changed in the workforce. And I think that's a good thing. I encourage people to be more open and hope that they find people who are open to receive those kind of messages.
Yes.
So it's not like just suck it up.
Right.
It's like
exactly.
Okay, what should we do? How should we move forward? What do you want? Just more communication about it.
Yeah, I think that's the way. Be just more, talk more. You be vulnerable sometimes. It's okay. Like obviously be private as much as you want, but but I think vulnerability sometimes is okay.
Yeah.
And I think makes other people feel comfortable. Man, this thing kind of makes me sad.
Yeah.
This thing kind of sucks that people treat me this way.
Yeah.
I have a little excuse, right, in my head that like I'm a foreigner, right? I have a little bit of an accent.
Yeah.
So I could say a little bit weird things that people are like, oh, it's not normal because he's a foreigner. But I'm using that just so I could say weird things. This is kind of one of my secrets.
You heard it here first, huh?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could be like, man, there was an example like recently that I was at work and I was like, I said something, vulnerability, something that was vulnerable.
Yeah.
And people was a bit uncomfortable and I could tell, But because I'm a foreigner, people are like, oh it's okay. But then at the same time, they kind of get, I could see a bit of inspiration in it. You know? Like, oh, that's nice. Kind of thing. So I think people could be a little bit more that. But like I said, that's why the human thing being human, it goes back to being fair though. You're not using that to maliciously gain things or maliciously not work as much. Like be fair, like honesty, genuinely fair, And I think those things starts getting into place and you just feel better. That's how I feel now.
Yeah.
Like I'm an open book now, like with my feelings,
Yeah.
Like I'm open about it. If I'm sad, I'll let you know. If I'm upset, I'll let you know. If I don't want to do it, I'll let you know. If I'm excited to do it, I'll let you know. It's like, and if you have a question on how my life was, I'll let you know. Like all the bad shit I've done, I could talk about it. It's cool because I've overcame that in a way of like, let me be okay with myself first and then be genuine about it.
Yeah.
And then be completely honest. And you went through a period that was tough. It was really deep.
You had to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of questions. A whole lot. And it was dark for me for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you get out of there like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
We're good, And now it's like, move forward.
Yeah, a little bit of levity, I think, once you acknowledge the dark, right?
Yes.
You acknowledge is like, okay, I've said it out loud. Because a lot of things can live in your head and just like keep going there, unless you talk to somebody about it or verbalize it or something or acknowledge it and own up to it.
Yeah.
You know, it can stay there.
Yeah.
You can keep it.
You keep it forever because most people don't have people that could open up to.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really great point.
It's a tough one. You know, like who can you call if you just need to talk? Like you kind of want to, you know, but you're like, don't have the courage. And you're like, fuck, and then you just kind of forget. You're like, you know what, fuck it.
Well, it's like, do you have the courage, but does the other person have the ability? Right. So you like start telling me things, and if I'm like, oh man, this is tough. Then it shuts down, right? And now you're even more concerned to tell anyone else.
Yeah.
Because if this happened, what about the next person I tell?
Exactly.
Right.
And a lot of the times it's like maybe you catch that person in the wrong time.
Yeah.
He's walking into a meeting.
Yeah.
And there's like,
you
know, it's like how do you even know how to approach it? Like, hey, Vince, do you have like 5 minutes? I need to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
You know, and then that person needs to figure out, hey man, sounds like it's something serious. Call me at this time.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm free at 4:00.
Yeah, 4:00. Yeah. Call me at that time or whatever. So it's tough. Like, there's all these situations that could happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if you experience this from like the South American culture, right? But like in the Mexican culture, it's like this machismo thing, right?
Yes.
Like if you have feelings, just, you know, stiff upper lip. Don't say anything, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So
I grew up with that.
Yeah. So it's very similar, right? Like, you know, if you get hurt, it's like, suck it up. You know, don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
Yeah.
But I really do feel that's changing.
It's changing for sure.
Know, and in a good way. I think it's fine. Like, I think for me, like after I was always emotional. I'm a musician, right? I'm an artist. We feel a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the pandemic really kind of did a number on me.
Really?
Yeah. Like depression. Because it was just me by myself.
Right.
In my place.
And you're a very social person.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine all of a sudden, like, no interaction with anybody. No pets, no roommate, no anything. And so my communication was through a Zoom or through a screen, right? And my family was 3 hours away, so I couldn't pot up with them. Like, it was a lot. And
for a long time.
And for a long time. Because we didn't know how long it was going to be.
That's the worst. That was the worst.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. And everyone kind of has their own stories, right? And this is just mine. But what it made me do is realize, like, or reminded me, I should say, life is too short. So as soon as like we can meet up with people, I am going to give you the biggest bear hug. Yeah. Because I really missed that.
Yeah, me too. I missed that made me realize how important this is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that face to face, nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, we could do it through Zoom. We can.
But
it's not the best.
Another Zoom?
We could do it, but it's not the best. It's really not.
Yeah.
And like, that's we're humans. We need
human. Yeah.
We need that, you know.
Yeah, some people need physical interaction. I didn't have any of that, right? No, like I said, no physical action with anything. And it kind of recalibrated me to where I am way more emotional now. Like, I watch something on television. Like, I watched The Last of Us.
Right.
There's this famous episode, right? And people are like, oh, you're gonna love it. I'm like, oh, we'll see. I watched it. Like, I was crying
the whole time. Yeah.
And it was like, gosh, you know, it's anything that kind of strikes that little emotional string on me. Once it's plucked, it's like, oh, it's gonna keep reverberating.
Yeah.
But the flip side is that if I'm happy,
that same thing.
You know that I am happy, genuinely happy for you.
Right.
And if I'm mad or upset, like, you'll know. So my emotional like range has definitely widened quite a bit.
I'm the same way. I've always been emotional. I'm more emotional now. It probably was because of kids.
Kids usually do it.
Yeah. I cry a lot now. I'm like starting to talk about my kids some way. I just teary eyes. You know, it's like
you're just like, hey, they did this. And
there's a lot.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, like I grew up not thinking, but like people telling me, like, don't cry. You're not supposed to cry. Why are you crying like a girl? Why are you crying like a girl?
The girl, right?
You know, it's like
that's culturally, right? Like
culturally,
the
culture.
Brazilian culture would.
Yes, the culture, right? It was like that. Uncles, friends, whatever, older friends, all that stuff. And then with my kid I'm like, never want to do that approach, right?
Yeah.
And recently he was just fake crying. You know?
Okay.
He was like, because I tell him like, so when he started school, he's like, oh, I get there, I cry, you know, like preschool, right? And I was like, well, it's okay. Like, what did you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why?
Why were you crying? Do you know? Like, did you miss us? Do you want to be home? It's okay to cry. So I always say it's okay to cry. And then he like, okay. So then he like now cries, fake cries. And then I'm like, okay, it's okay to cry when you need to cry.
Yeah.
Not when you want to cry.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But like, it's kind of cool to like be able to express that feeling and like challenge him. He doesn't know how to process that yet, right? When I'm telling him like, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Why are you crying? Are you sad? You know, like, he doesn't know. He's like, fuck, I'm just either hurt,
Yeah.
or
I want attention.
I want
It could be,
attention.
like,
Yeah, but like sometimes there are feelings that he cries and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Like it's okay. Like he's too young to figure it out. I figured out that 4 years ago. You know?
Yeah.
So it's crazy that we grew up thinking you cannot cry, you know?
Yeah.
And don't show emotions.
Yeah,
and
don't
all
show
that
emotions.
stuff. And like, I mean, you could control your emotions, what to show and not to show. It's fine, but like it's okay to be emotional, you know?
You can show the positive emotions. Like
Right.
you could be cheering for your team. Yeah, you're screaming and yelling.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's the other ones that don't show those.
Yeah, don't show.
Now I'm like, I'm
don't
gonna show you
weakness.
everything.
Yeah, I'll show you everything. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna flash you my emotions.
That's how it should be. Flash your emotions.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where flashing came from.
It could be, right? I'm telling you, if people saw me flash, they'd start crying.
They
too.
start crying.
That's
Yes.
that's another story though.
There's
That's
another
that's a
another story.
Mardi Gras story. But yeah.
I love when people ask you what you do.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you do? The first thing you're like, well, you know, adult films.
Yeah.
And it takes people like a while, and then they're like, and you're like, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I say OnlyFans.
OnlyFans now?
Now it's OnlyFans because now it's a little more
It's a
niche.
thing. It's a niche.
Yeah, it's like, and people are like, yeah,
You're like, what?
yeah. Why? Are you on?
They're
Are
like
you on?
ready for a story.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, but you know what OnlyFans? Okay,
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it. I just like to keep people on their toes.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You always do that. You always do that. I think I stole that joke once or twice.
You take it. It's
Yeah.
not stealing. You borrowing
Borrowing,
the joke.
yeah, borrowing. What do you do? You know OnlyFans?
Yeah, but don't smile when you
People
say
like-
it. But you gotta look like,
You gotta look like you're ready to tell a story.
and you don't want other people to hear. So you're like,
Oh, right.
and then right. Otherwise, it's
Oh, that's good.
or you kind of stutter like.
You're like, oh, that's good.
See, it's all about how you sell it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, showing emotion for me is important,
Yeah.
especially the weak ones,
Yeah. All emotions, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you're giving a great example of your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm happy, you're gonna know, and I want you to be happy. I want you to show your happiness.
Right.
I want you to show your sadness. There's two ways to ask, why are you crying? Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's, why are you crying? And
Right.
there's, why are you crying?
Yeah.
It's the same words,
Right. Right.
just a different way of asking.
And also, sometimes people want to tell you something. This is one thing that I figured out. I have a blockage for.
Okay.
So when people talk to me, I immediately go, "Well, have you tried this? This is the solution." Well, I immediately think, "Let's solve this."
Okay.
Like, let me give you some ways
Yeah.
that I think that you
Yeah.
could solve this. But sometimes people don't want to talk to you for solutions.
Yeah.
They want to talk to you for a hug.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. You know what I mean?
You're right.
And
You're
it's
right.
like,
You're right.
and I was like, oh, there's ways of talking to people
Yeah.
and listening. Always is like, Felipe, man, like my bird is not feeling well. I think he's going to die. Or my dog, I think
Yeah.
he's going to die. And I'm thinking, well, how old is he? Like I was just like,
Have you tried this?
yeah, like I think it's sometimes it happens for a week, but all you need to do is like that must all you want to hear is like, that must feel terrible. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
You must be feeling terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me a hug. You know?
Yeah.
Anything I can do.
Yeah.
You know? I hear you.
Yeah.
You know, like when I realized that, I was like, oh. And it was during Bruno's first pregnancy. She was like tired, back hurt.
Oh yeah.
Belly's this big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, like, all right, let me give you a massage. You know, can I give you some tea? Because you can't take medicine. So I'm just like, I go all the solutions, right? Like all the solutions. Sometimes it's helpful, but sometimes at the end of the day, she just wanted somebody to hear how tired she was, understand that like how tired. So then I realized, I was like, you know what? All I need to do is ask her questions. Like first, before she comes to me. So I'm like, okay, so how you feeling? How you feeling? Are you good? I'm good. Thank you. Are you tired today? Yeah, I'm tired today. I was like, it must be exhausting. Let me go get some tea. If you like, let me know. Just that comfort of like just think about the communication, how far that goes. I didn't do nothing physically. I thought always like I had to do physically results, right? Like,
yeah, let me massage you. Let me do this.
Let me massage you. Let me just get. Let me look up some medicines that comes from the tree. You know, that like you could take it and not gonna affect the baby. I'm like, no, like just mentally, when I talk to her, she'll feel better. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, maybe that's how a lot of people are.
Yeah. Well, I know when my mom passed away, I had a lot of friends who were saying, what can I do? What can I do to help? And unfortunately, during that time, I didn't know what I needed.
Yeah, you don't know.
So I had all the support in the world, but when they said, what can I do to help? I didn't know how to answer. So it goes right to your point of there's nothing physical to do. Sometimes it's just the acknowledgement that this sucks, right? I remember we were doing or getting ready for the services, and we're in the church, and the priest came up to us and said, you know, just want to check in, see how you're doing. And he told us a story, and I don't remember where it was. It was in the Bible, but something about there was somebody in the Bible who lost their parent, and the disciples came and just sat in their house. They did not tell them anything. They just sat because they knew that they just needed the presence of somebody there. Right. And it really stuck with me because sometimes people just want you to sit in the form of just to acknowledge them and say, you know, this hurts or whatever, you know, whatever it may be. But I think that's a very strong and powerful observation that you had as far as like, it wasn't anything physical that I could do to help, even though I want to help. My tendency is to help you. Right. But sometimes it's just like, I just acknowledge your back pain. So
whatever it is. So sometimes I try to catch myself. Is this person talking to me for a solution or for a feeling? Yeah. You know? And that has helped me a lot. You know, like maybe you're just talking to me like, Vince, I hear you. Give me a hug. Yeah. You know, like, I can't imagine how you're feeling. Give me a hug. And that's it. And I'll sit next to you, and that's all I do. I heard a story of this guy, same thing. This guy heard that his family, not his family, his friend lost, it was either his brother or his mom. And without hesitating, his friend he flew from state to the other, knocked on his door. The day after, he found out and knocked on his door and said, I don't know what you need, but I'm here. And walked in his house, sat on the couch, and was there. I never heard about the story of the Bible, but it's the same thing. It's
the exact same thing.
How crazy is that? You know, and that's all he needed. That's all he needed. You know,
I think in life, right? Sometimes it's all we need, right? Like, so when you start a new adventure, right? And you're like, what do you need? What do you need? And you're like, I'm trying to figure it out right now, but I don't know. But if somebody sits back and says, when you figure that out, I'm right over here on the couch. for you to let me know. Like, I think that's very powerful.
It's powerful. And then it's nice to have those people around you that understand that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And also has a connection, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know if anything goes bad in terms of feeling, I could call you, talk to you anytime, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've always known that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having that comfort is nice. Because you have to remind yourself there's people that are supportive of you no matter what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Where, like, my parents are very supportive, but they're so scared. They've always been scared of, like, losing jobs.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a thing, right? Like, especially in our culture, right? Latinos, like, you got to work hard for the best company possible, you know? And always work hard, don't say anything. So I offered Live Nation to go as agency in November.
Okay.
And we've been kind of like negotiating, doing like the contract, doing the SOW, MSA, all these things that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Like master standard agreement, like scope of work, and then invoices, and putting you into the financial system and getting your pay.
Yeah.
And it took from November to April 1st, getting a replacement for myself, because I was trying to get a replacement for myself. So I knew this was happening. My boss gave me the yes. On like late November, mid-December. My boss gave the okay, the HR, everything was right. So I knew, let's call it early December. I only told my parents today.
What? Because you were waiting for everything to be finalized and already in motion.
No.
Why? Why did you wait till today?
Because I was scared of their reaction.
I feel you. I know exactly what you're saying.
I know my mom would never be like against it, but her first reaction is very genuine.
Probably what I did.
Yeah.
What?
No, you know,
no.
my mom is like this.
Right. Yeah.
No, why?
What do you?
No, Felipe, like, you know, and then she's gonna go supportive and all that stuff. So I was always scared, not scared of like, I wasn't ready to like, you know, deal with that, back and forth, you know. But when I told her, it was completely opposite today. It was like, wow, congratulations and all that stuff. I was like, oh, this is really nice, you know.
Yeah.
So, but then I think she got a little confused at first because she thought I had the job plus this.
Oh, okay.
And then when I said, but I don't have the job anymore, she's like,
hi. Yeah. Here comes the Portuguese, just like that, right?
Yeah. But it was a very positive reaction. But I only told her today.
That's crazy.
December, January, March, April. You know, 5 months.
I understand. I mean, I've talked to my dad about this. So where I'm working now, if you don't agree with something going on, you're supposed to voice that opinion. But culturally, right? So the Mexican culture, right? If you have a job, just keep your head down, do your job.
Do what you're told.
Don't cause any waves.
Right.
Be grateful that you have the job.
Right.
And that, I think, is from like the grandparents, right?
Yeah.
Picking fruit in the fields. Like, just be grateful you have this opportunity to make money. Don't try and like, you know, be a Cesar Chavez and like raise hell, right? Although we need to do that. I think now, hopefully, things are changing where we are able to voice our opinion, you know, and say this isn't right.
Right.
You know, and again, teaching, like you would teach your kids, I would teach my nieces and nephew. Like, if something is an injustice, speak up.
Right.
Because you may realize you have a lot more support than you think.
Yeah,
you may feel like you're on an island, but once you speak up, people say, I agree. You know, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to take that first step. But you know, I'm 49 years old, and I started working my current company at 42. And when I started working, I learned in big, huge meetings with these huge people how to voice my opinion, because I still had that mentality of just keep your head down and don't cause waves. So little by little, I've learned how to find my own voice.
It's liberating, right?
It's liberating, but it's also, we're constantly learning and we're constantly need to be challenging ourselves. So even though I've been in this industry for a long time, like, I'm still finding my voice and fine tuning that voice and adjusting it.
Right.
You should never stop learning, never stop being curious.
Yes. Yes.
So I hope I show that to my family.
Right.
That we can make change, we can do these things. It might be a little scary.
Yeah.
But that's, again, where the growth happens.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And you can voice your opinion. You can maybe take a leadership position. I say that a lot. Like, if you feel strong about something, speak up, but also know that there are different opinions. So somebody else might have a strong opinion opposite to yours. Just respect that, and then you could go about it.
Yeah.
But not speaking up is probably the worst route.
Yeah.
I
think also too, if somebody has an opposing opinion, you have to listen to it in its entirety.
Right.
Because if we had an opposing opinion and you start talking about what it is, and I'm already thinking of the counter arguments, like, no. I'm not listening to anything you're saying.
Yeah.
I need to hear everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And make sure I'm clear as to where you're coming from.
Right.
And then if I say, I still disagree.
Right.
And I feel like that is fine. But it's when you dismiss somebody before they tell you how they feel.
Yes.
I think that's where in this world we are at now, where people have a disagreement, and as soon as they start talking, they cut them off. It's like, I want to hear what you have to say.
Right. And that's one thing that I've changed completely. And especially nowadays, right? Like the culture, political culture that we're going now is going on now is like before is like, oh, Trump this. I'm like, just get out of here. Get out of my face. Now I'm like, let me just listen to you entirely. Because I think there might be a lot of things that I might agree with and a lot of things I don't agree with. And we could talk. Some of my friends in the first time voted for Trump, we like treat him like shit. And I was like, and then I even reached out to him later, like later on, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like, we're friends forever. Like, I'm sure, like we might have differences of opinion politically, but we're friends. Like, and so what I've learned now is like, by the way, I don't vote. I've never voted.
You never voted?
I've never voted.
What?
And I'll tell you why. One, because in Brazil, you have to vote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in US,
you register and then you vote or you don't, right?
You have the opinion. You have the option, right? Vote or no. So it's a nice right to have, not to vote if you don't want to, right? And the time that I wanted to vote was for like Obama, and I had just got my citizenship, kind of overlap. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But every other election, there were little things here that I don't like. A lot of things here that I didn't like. So I was like, it's nice to have the right not to vote. And here's what happened a lot of the times where I would confirm that not voting because I wasn't ready was right. Because sometimes I'll go to people and say, I'm not voting.
Like what I just did.
What? You have to vote. I'm like, I have to vote? You have to vote. No, in Brazil, I have to vote. Here, I don't.
Yeah, the
and
right
they're
to
like,
vote. Yeah.
And they're like, well, you have a daughter. You have to vote. No, wait. Now you want me to vote for you, for who you vote.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then my head is like, oh, I see how it is. They're just similar people in different sides.
I was going to say, if you have the other side saying you have to vote because of this, right?
Yeah. So it's like, so then it's like, I have my opinion, and I like to think that I sit kind of in the middle, right?
Okay.
Like I pick a bunch of shit from this side and pick a bunch of shit from this side now, right? Now. Where before I was completely left. Like I'm just like, because we are minorities. So we have all these things that like all these people just seem like they're racist. They say a bunch of stuff that is like borderline racist.
Questionable.
A lot of questionable shit where I'm like, it seems racist to me. You know? But like, I don't want to always also go all the way in on that thought, Like, let me actually listen to you and see. So, but I'm also not convinced, And I'm like, that you're not that kind of person that you seem to be. So I'm like, okay, until I am fully comfortable with my opinion of these sides, then I'll vote. Until then, because I see like the right having this kind of kind of blanket on them. They say a lot of like borderline stuff. There's a lot of racist things, right? Or at least it seems to me. And on the left side, they always seem to put like, it's almost like it's a marketing scheme. Well, here's Beyonce next to me. That's why you should vote for me.
Oh, it's optics.
Optics, right? And it's not really deep and like it's more ideology versus what it is.
Okay.
So there's two sides that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Completely,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of things here I agree with. A lot of things here I don't agree with. But there's like, so then I'm like, okay, political stuff is not for me for now. Like let me stay out of it. You guys vote. Fuck it. Whatever you guys choose, I'm cool with it. But like, unfortunately, right? Because I'm not educated enough on that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but how can I approach it so it affects my life? So then I'm like, okay, so then I'm going to treat people, like you said, listen to their opinion fully, and then really see where they're going with that. And then I could get my judgment.
Yeah.
Or either I go away from you or I become your friend. So that's kind of like my approach.
Yeah. It's interesting because you grew up in a culture where you had to vote. Like is it a certain age in Brazil?
Yeah, 18.
You turn 18, you have to vote, right?
Have to vote.
Here,
if you don't vote, your social security is locked.
Oh shit.
It's not like a little thing.
Wow.
Your social security is locked. You can't get a job.
Oh.
If taxes are screwed, you have to go pay a fine, justify why, all these things.
Okay.
Unless you're out of the country like me, and then I just pay a fine. I pay a fine in Brazil every year, which is like $30 or some shit.
Okay.
But like,
and then here it's a right to vote, right? You turn 18, you register, right? You get the right to vote.
you have the right to vote and the right not to vote.
Not to vote.
Which is nice.
Yeah, which means just having the right means you can or can't. I grew up in an extremely conservative town.
Really?
Yeah, extremely conservative. So growing up, like neighbors using certain words that might have been a little salacious, but it's so I do still listen to other people's opinions, but you have a lot less time to convince me that you're educated on what you're talking about. So, for example,
I see. That's a good way to put it.
A couple of years ago, people were talking about critical race theory, right? Critical race theory being taught in the schools, and it was this talking point that the right was using. Like, we can't be teaching critical race theory in schools. We can't be teaching that. And I would ask people, can you explain to me what it is? Well, I just know we can't be teaching it in schools. I'm like, yeah. That critical race theory is something that you learn in like law school, right? It's a theory that they're not teaching in like third graders, this whole theory.
Oh, when you really kind of already developed, have your own opinions, well educated.
Yeah, then you learn this is what this theory is, right? It's not critical race fact, right? So it's this theory. They couldn't explain what it was, but they were getting these talking points of what to say. And I said, I'm sorry, but because you can't explain to me something that you're against, like, I think the conversation's kind of over.
Yes. Well, obviously, there's a lot of people there just like...
Right. They're just, talking heads. And it's not just the right? It's anyone, right? And that applies across the board. If you're unable to speak intelligently about what you're saying, whether it's right, left, middle, center, whatever,
right,
then your argument doesn't hold a lot of water for me.
Right.
And that's just me personally.
Yes.
I'm not telling other people they need to do that.
Yes.
This is me personally.
Right.
And that's how I maintain my mental health.
This is great. This is exactly how I approach it. It's kind of also because political thing is so complicated because the way you say certain things as a leader, right? Like as the president, is if the way you say things affects people differently.
Yeah.
So if you say, get rid of the illegal immigrants, and let's get all the DEI and all the LGBTQ out of it. Like, that affects so many people that is on your side and then against you. Not meaning not meaning directly, but like the way they approach it. So it means like if you say get rid of all illegal immigrants, some racist people that support you are gonna listen to that like fuck every immigrant. You know, like they're gonna listen to that. They're gonna translate into their own approach.
You're right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And they're like, oh, let's get rid of all LGBTQ plus stuff. They're gonna be like, fuck all gay people. But that's why it's dangerous, right? So like say things without explaining.
Yeah.
And even though there's a lot of things that could be right on certain levels that you do, like let's get rid of super criminal legal immigrants. Cool, yes. Get rid of all super criminal people, right?
Yeah.
Like somehow, you know,
and,
legally. But like don't say it without explaining it.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be some people are gonna take they are malicious, are gonna take that and approach it their way. You know?
Yeah. It's a great point. And this is not a right left thing, it's whoever's in charge.
It's
Whether
whoever's
a
in
boss,
charge.
Manager, president,
Yes,
it doesn't
whoever
matter
is in
who
charge.
it is.
Yes.
Whoever's in charge, you need context and realize that there is nuance to everything.
Right.
And if you don't explain that, you're right. You have these people who are going to be like, well, my manager said this, so thus I'm applying my filter to it and I'm going this way.
Yeah.
So
I have a friend. I have a friend that he went into a presentation, and it was a presentation for athletes, right? So the guy was teaching people how to like eat right, you know, get the right carbs, the right protein, and in one of the sections he talked about like runners, right? So like the night before, get a lot of pasta, a lot of carbs on the long runs before you do your marathon. I did marathon, that's why I kind of knew all that stuff. So he listened to that, right? He's not a runner, he doesn't train, he's not an athlete. This thing was specifically for athletes and runners, right? So you know what he took from that? I need to
eat pasta.
I need pasta every day before I sleep. Like it's a perfect example how people just approach it the way they hear it. Yeah. That's why it's dangerous. Yeah. Even though you might have a good like reason to do the things you're doing in your head, the way you say it needs to be clear for everybody, intelligent and not so intelligent people.
Yeah.
Because when you go against these things that need to be incorporated correctly in a society, in my opinion, like LGBTQ, minorities, all that stuff needs to somehow be incorporated into our society because guess what? It was never incorporated into our society until recently, right? Like it was never. So it needs to somehow get into a right place, both sides, because again, there's people to take advantage of the system, right? Illegal immigrants that will come here and do crimes, that's taking advantage of the system, right? So there's a whole gray area that you have to focus on. It's not so black and white. And I think that's my long way of saying, because I've always seen I've seen both sides be so black and white.
Why does it gotta be black and white? Why can't we just, no,
so brown and blue.
There we go. Yeah.
Or it has to have to be brown. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not one side or the other.
Yeah.
Why can't it be a blend?
Why can't it be a blend? Why can't it be a whole explanation? Like that's why I think leadership, no matter where, for country specifically,
that's what I'm saying.
Needs to be led by people that know how to explain things, know how to map it out, know how to relate to the lower level people to the highest level people. You know, like I think that's kind of I've never seen that really. Yeah. From the time I was able to vote up to now, and that's why I've never voted.
It's interesting. So the other night I went on a walk, and I didn't take my ID. And I was about a mile into it, and it crossed my mind. What if ICE just saw me and saw somebody like who's in like a hoodie, dark skin, and sweat
in the middle of a nice neighborhood?
Yes. I shouldn't be thinking that
you shouldn't,
stuff.
right?
But it crossed my mind. I'm like, I don't have my ID.
Right.
Like, I've lived here for 49 years, my whole life. I was born here. I was born in a Swedish village in Central California. But it crossed my mind, what happens if they stop me?
Exactly.
And I'm not from another country.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting, maybe for another time, but to figure out like your perspective, you know, from being from another country.
I'm from another country. My wife only has a green card.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. We don't have enough information, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just so superficial.
Yeah.
Like ICE are deporting.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And then you see videos like they just burst into this woman's house. They're like, oh my God. They take the kids, take everybody. I'm like, please somebody explain.
Yeah, they're asking questions later.
And then there's the case of the guy that got sent because of his tattoo. He's a hairdresser. Yeah. He got sent to the El Salvadorian fucking max security prison. Just thugs and crazy gangsters are in there.
They got
and now
good
they're trying
hair
to reverse it. Right? They're trying to be. So it's like because the information wasn't even processed to the right people in charge.
Yeah.
There's this whole problem, right? So I'm like, man, there's a lot of gray areas, right?
Yeah.
A lot of gray areas that it hasn't been explained, hasn't been. So my perspective is like, I'm scared. I'm not scared, but I'm also like uninformed, right? I'm uninformed and makes me
nervous.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. Not scared, but it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Man, like we have the full right of going to Brazil and coming back. Like, should we? Yeah, should we?
I don't know.
When I come back, they're gonna be like,
yeah, what are you doing there? I have my own business.
Questions later.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They put him
Take
in
him to the back.
Yeah.
And it's like, by the time, that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so how do... And then maybe somebody on the other side of the government will be like, man, this will never happen. That's not how it is. This is like, you know, maybe it is not like that. But we're just not informed enough because it's like, illegal immigrants, get the fuck out of here. You know, it's like...
Good thing you didn't vote, man.
I didn't vote for both sides because of that, you know, so it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But it was a good tangent. But
I know.
But Vince, I appreciate you coming.
Of course, man. It's always great chatting with you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I had missed you, man. I really missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too. I mean, you had a lot of stuff going on. I forgot about the marathon.
Yeah.
The marathon, company, kids.
Try, man.
Leaving one job, going to another. It's a lot.
Figuring it out.
That's awesome. I'm happy.
We'll do another one, please.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
We'll do it sooner than later.
Please.
All right. Cool. This is awesome.
Thank you.
And that's it.
That's a wrap.